Today on entitled Parents. Entitled mother snatches my phone out of my hand because I wouldn't let her son play games on it. I did not know they made those in Canada too. For context, I am a young university student. I have two phones, one which is an old Huawei model that I use for school and work. It's quite slow but has all my authenticator apps for school, years of notes, the email I use for work, and my work number on it. It runs okayish but is horrible in terms of processing speed and storage, yet I'm a lazy shoot and keep putting off transferring all the data to make my future self's life easier. My second phone, on the other hand, is a newer iPhone 14 Pro Max model, and it has all my games, friend contacts, social media, etc. on them. This occurred back when classes were still in session, but reading all these stories jotted my memory, and now I finally have time to share it too. Everything is still so vividly detailed in my head that I basically can't get it out, since everything was so absurd. Anyways, on to the story. Onto the bus I go, a normal ride for me which I take every day. I take two connections, one which is an express bus from the university to a SkyTrain station, and the second from the SkyTrain station to home. The second bus is where I encounter this entitled parent. I sit down at the back of the bus where I always sit, and a woman who's on her phone and talking very loudly gets on the bus with a noisy kid who is screaming and crying and throwing a hissy fit for God knows why. I sigh, realize it's going to be one of those rides, and try to ignore the commotion. Little did I know the little one has climbed up next to my seat and staring at my screen, while her mother is nearly 5 seats away still in heated conversation about God knows what. Out of nowhere, I hear a, "Do you have games on your phone?" I spin around and there he is. This little kid, perhaps 7 or 8, is gazing deep into my soul, on his knees on the seat, and inches from my face. I lean back because, well, I don't function well with people up in my face, and this kid leans closer. Foolishly I reply, "Yeah? Can I play on it?" "No, go away." "But I'm bored." "I don't care, go away." The kid pouts and runs off. I thought that was the end of it. Then a shadow looms over me. I hear an ahem. Then again. I try to ignore it, but it was like an unskippable boss fight cutscene. Then, out of the corner of my ear, "Young man." I look up. Great. It's the crazy lady. "Yeah? Why did you tell my son he couldn't use your phone?" "Because it's my phone? You kids are always glued to the screen these days. You can do without it for a single bus ride." At this point I am stunned. So I don't respond for a few seconds, then slowly reply, "What I do with my phone is none of your business." This lady recoils in shock and anger as if I had just buried a puppy alive. "How dare you talk to me like that? Show some respect." She then sees my second phone, my work phone, and says, "You have two phones, just give him one, you can use the other one." "No, lady, I'm not giving some stranger's kid my phone." "But you don't need two phones." Lady.eyed. I was annoyed at this point, and my tone was starting to get aggressive. "It doesn't matter that I have two phones. They are my phones. I won't be giving them to your son. No means no." She rolls her eyes and walks away, her son screaming and clutching the legs of her pants. I tune out the commotion once more, stricken with disbelief, and still wondering what in the world just happened. Open up some offline games to decompress. I thought that was the end of everything. How foolish I was. I feel a tug on my backpack as I zone out. I instinctively look for my screen, and this little piece of shit is under the seat, reaching into my bag trying to pull out my second phone. I panic, smack away his hand, and shout, "What the fuck are you doing?" Now, I am normally a very calm and reserved person. However, having served 6 full years in the Royal Canadian Army Cadets and currently being a drill instructor, my voice was loud when I wanted it to be. The kid winces and cowers, freezing for a solid moment before crawling out from under the seat, and runs to his mother crying. I sigh to myself. "Yep, but you'll really again." She's back. Before the kid even reaches her, she's up and storming over. "How dare you speak to my son like that? Your son tried to steal my phone. Let him have it, stop being a brat, you can stay off your phone for a moment, it's not that big of a deal." I was seething with rage, boiling with anger. Without skipping a beat, I spat back. "Well, if it's not such a big deal, how about you let him have yours? That way, you can keep an eye on your little precious angel and start being a responsible parent for once. Your kid being bored is not my responsibility." She turned red and demanded, "Are you calling me a bad parent?" And I responded with, "If you were such a good parent, your kid wouldn't be off trying to steal other people's stuff." Now, our shouting match had drawn quite a commotion. I heard a few oohs and dangs from the back of the bus. She grew visibly red and snatched my phone from my hand. Not my work phone, the one in my hand. "Give me that. You brats don't deserve these." I was stunned for a second that she actually did something so incomprehensibly stupid. Looking back, I knew I should have done something better. But I sprang up, wrestled my phone from her grasp, and knocked her down in the process. Shoot hits the fan. She starts wailing like a banshee, screaming that I assaulted her. Her son is crying and he's punching me in the legs. The bus screeches to a halt, and the driver comes running up. Now, seeing the situation, me towering over the screeching mother and holding a phone, he assumes that I was the perpetrator. This is quite a long bus, joined together with 2 sections, so I assumed that he hadn't heard or saw exactly what was happening, only noticing the commotion in his rear mirror and seeing me knock Karen down after snatching the phone from her grasp. So he says, "Sir, return that device at once and leave the premises, or I will be forced to call the pol." Before he can even finish the sentence, the entire bus explodes with several other passengers speaking up at once, defending my case and telling the driver what had actually happened. The driver held up his hand, backed up, and tried to get everyone to calm down, which took quite a while, especially because the Karen kept screaming that she was going to have me arrested, that she was going to sue me, that she was going to press charges, etc. Once everything finally calms down, I begin to speak. However, the Karen interjects with, "Sir, he stole my phone from me. I demand to have this insert racial slur arrested." "Ma'am, please don't use that language here." He looks like he's about to say something else, but I sigh and hold up my hand, and in the most calm voice I can muster in the moment, reply, "Sir, this phone is mine. If you will allow me, I will unlock it." I hold up the phone. It's got an anime wallpaper on it, certainly not something middle-aged women with children would have. I type in the password and the screen is unlocked. Karen starts screeching again. He saw me type in my password, that's how he knows. "Lady." A clearly annoyed man in the back speaks up in a booming voice. "There are cameras on the bus. Everything is recorded." At the mention of cameras, she turns white as a sheet. Then, without skipping a beat, she drags her crying son to the back door and begins pounding on it, demanding that she be let out, all while screaming obscenities and threatening that she's going to sue, that she's going to file a complaint with transit, blah blah blah. That wasn't even it. In the commotion, despite threatening to by the Karen, someone had actually called the cops. Right on cue, so 2 officers roll up to the bus with flashing lights. The Karen throws herself at the officers as they are let in and starts spinning some sob story when she's cut off at once by a very annoyed police officer. This was something like 8 at night and was probably nearing the end of his shift or something, because he had an expression like he was absolutely done. Long story short, the bus was halted for something like an hour and 45 minutes. A second one pulled up which all the other passengers filed off into, not before giving a witness's statement. The camera feed was pulled, and Karen was placed into the back of a cruiser after she slapped a police officer. One says that they arrived because there was a report someone being assaulted on public transport. The police get my contact information, my ID, etc., and tells me that they'll contact me if anything else needs to be done. I have no idea what happened to the kid because I didn't stick around for the aftermath and just wanted to get the hell out of there. The worst part? My parents, who was always displeased with me coming at home late, unfortunately, did not believe my story. They thought it was an excuse. Our last story for today. Told my entire family that they should not concern me with who I were. I, 18 male, was in a high school relationship for over 4 years. When I was 13 to 17 years old, it was highly toxic. During these times together, I was miserable. Her, 19 female, family hated me so bad for no apparent reason. However, my family really liked this girl, really liked her. They would always ask about her, and I guess it was nice having your family like your partner, but at the time I was hiding the fact that I was completely miserable with her. My dad, 49 male, liked her because she's also a Catholic. My stepmom, 34 female, liked her because she can cook. My little sisters liked her because she had mini-poms she would bring with her every time she comes over. The only one who understood me was my mom, 45 female. I live with her, so I guess she could tell whenever I get stressed because of the relationship, and she could see that I was not really happy with her. Although my mom never told me to break up with her, just that to make sure I was happy myself. I broke up with her, long story short. Fast forward a few months later to last October, and I met a new girl. One thing to describe her, she genuinely makes me the happiest person on earth, due to multiple things. My mom could tell that she makes me really happy, and I just look better than when I was with my ex-girlfriend. However, the more I talk about her to my dad and stepmom, the more I realize they may not be as happy with my newfound girl. They would not listen to my stories about her like they would excitedly get about my ex-girlfriend. But then my dad had told our entire family about how he doesn't like this new girl. And even got his brother, my uncle, to try get me to stay away from her. They tried setting me up with multiple girls. And every time we go out together and there's a girl that seems to be my age, they would try to get me to walk up to her to get her number and to just hang out. Complete disregard of my current girlfriend, the thought that I was that desperate for girls, and that I just don't like being chosen who I'm with, which I think is my complete choice, just angered me. Even my boomer grandpa told me he's okay with anyone so long as they make me happy. We were having dinner a few weeks ago with the whole extended family. And when we were at the dinner table, they told me to find someone better and someone who fits me better. After dinner we went to the living room and sat there. They, Dad and Uncle, cornered me again about girls, and how I should find a better one. That got me to my breaking point, and I just stood up and said, "Why does it concern you who I do and do not F word?" And trust me, I did emphasize on the F word. Then the whole room became quiet until my grandpa laughed and told my family that they should not care too much about this stuff. My dad brought me to the yard and we had a massive argument, and he told me I had embarrassed him in front of the whole family and that I should go home and think about what I had done. So I drove home, and so that was it. I haven't talked to him or went back to his house. And those are all the stories we have for today. See you tomorrow.